What's up everybody, Bandit here. So you've seen us do some pretty crazy stuff in our trucks. Still like to keep our trucks fairly clean. We do try to keep them washed, waxed, and keep them looking pretty nice, both for YouTube and Instagram pictures, but also who really doesn't love a clean truck? Now there's kind of two schools of thought about this, and we kind of fall somewhere in the middle. You have your pavement princesses who always polish their trucks and never really use them as a truck, and you also have the people who say, well, it's just a truck, I'll use it how I want to, and if it gets banged up, it gets banged up. Now personally, I feel like I've invested a lot of money into this truck, and I do think it looks pretty good. I'm not going to not use it as a truck just because it's too pretty, but I do want to, preserve my investment and keeping it looking as nice as I can for as long as possible. So over the weekend here, I spent a couple hours washing my truck for the first time in a while, and as you can see, it has a pretty nice finish to it. It is freshly clean, freshly waxed, and I want to go through exactly what my process is to clean all this. Now I also consulted with one of our Instagram and YouTube viewers, Frank from New Jersey. He's really into detailing. He does a heck of a job. Be sure to check him out on Instagram. But this is kind of what we figured would be the easiest thing for most truck people to do to keep their ride looking pretty fresh. Now unfortunately for the Land Cruiser, it was neglected before we had it, and as you can see, the paint is no exception. It definitely has a matte finish. You can hear when I rub my hand across it, it doesn't sound good, and I hope you can see that it doesn't really have a nice finish. Also, whoever had it before us went back and put some stripes on it. All of this is actually with a bed liner, rhino line type material. This stripe here, as well as the white down here and the black. And I'm not really sure why they did that. I'm not a huge fan of it, and maybe paint is in our future. But finally, it is running. I've actually been daily driving this thing, which made cleaning up the truck an even better idea. But as you can see here with the Land Cruiser, if you do start to neglect your paint, where you get gas on your vehicle, when you fill it up, that starts to eat away at the paint. You'll have a lot more of these little rock chips that eventually turn into rust. And as you can see, it just doesn't have a great finish to it. But that is part of it. Paint is something you have to look after. You do need a little bit of maintenance with the vehicle as well as the paint. So today we're going to go through all the steps we go through to keep the rides looking pretty good. So as with everything, if you spend too much time reading or looking around on the internet, you're left feeling that unless you spend several $100s in cleaning equipment and everything else, your truck's going to look like crap and you'd be better off just sending it through a car wash. Well, I can tell you that that's wrong. You don't need to order all these fancy chemicals or products online. Some of them are pretty good, but for the average consumer, there are still some things that you can buy at your local Advance store or Walmart or the like and still end up with a pretty good result. All of this was bought from Walmart. You can get it very, very easily and all for a pretty decent price. You really don't have to spend a lot of money. Now, a lot of people do just send it through the nearest automatic car wash. I would highly suggest you don't do that. They do start to eat away at your paint, and ultimately, unless you go for a brush one, the touchless ones don't really do all that good of a job. There's no real substitution for elbow grease, but with the brush ones, the ones that actually do come out and touch your vehicle, they pick up everyone else's rocks and just rub them all over your paint. And again, if you spend this much money on a truck or Jeep or whatever you have, you probably want to keep it looking nice. Now, I do still have some pinstripes on my vehicle. There are some more in-depth things that you could do to avoid that. You could go back with a synthetic clay bar or something like that and try to work all of that out. But overall, this took less than 2 hours from start to finish, and that's getting all the equipment out and putting it all back away. So in less than 2 hours, you can have your truck with a pretty nice finish. And here's a look at everything that I used. So here's a look at exactly what I used. Now, Meguiar's did not pay for this video. They're not sponsoring me in any way. But personally, I found for stuff that you can go to the store and buy right away, stuff you do not have to order, Meguiar's is really the best stuff that you can get. They sell it at AutoZone, the Advance store, Walmart, pretty much anywhere you can go. But in my opinion, Meguiar's does seem to do a better job than, say, Mother's or Turtle Wax or something like that. Now, I do start off here with just plain car wash. And you know, this really gets everything going. Again, there is no substitute for good elbow grease. It may take a little bit of scrubbing to get some of the more baked on bugs off, but really you need to wash your truck more often, you know, especially in the summertime when you can tolerate being outside, especially if you live you know, somewhere where it does snow, it does rain a lot, you know, whatever. It is definitely recommended that you wash your truck pretty frequently. After you get done with the car wash, you go over here and use this quick detailer. You don't even have to dry your vehicle off. Go ahead and spray this quick detailer on, and you can watch the water just run right off your vehicle. Then you want to finish up, after you get everything dried off, with the Tech Wax. Now, this is the NXT Meguiar's. They do have a few other different types. They also have Meguiar's Ultimate Car Wash and the Gold Class soaps. They're all pretty good. These are just what I had laying around, and this is what I have left over. I threw some of my other bottles away, but this stuff does work pretty good, and this is exactly what I used to clean my truck this time. So when it comes to that elbow grease that we were just talking about, microfiber is your friend. I use microfiber for just about everything. Here's my microfiber wash mitt. It works really great. If you do set this down, please do not pick it back up and start washing your vehicle with it. Make sure to keep this in your wash bucket or whatever else. I've heard some people say that they use 2 wash buckets, one to rinse this stuff off and then another one with soap. I try not to do that, but just don't set one of these things down on the pavement. That does pick up rocks or whatever else. And then when it comes for the rest of your vehicle, I use one of these really thick microfiber cloths. It's definitely thicker than a normal one. It's kind of two-sided there, as you can see. This is great for drying your vehicle. And then I use a separate microfiber cloth for everything else. So you say one for the wheels, one for the windows. Again, I use this one for the paint, and then that yellow one there for the interior, and that all works really well. Now, I've heard a couple different schools of thought here. Some people use newspapers or something like that for their windows. I, again, just use microfiber cloths, and this actually works on your windows and everything else. This Ultimate Quick Detailer, this is really great stuff. I would definitely recommend it. You can use it on the inside of your vehicle, you can use it on your windows, you can use it on the outside, but I definitely use a lot of this. Also, if your vehicle just gets a little bit dirty, you can actually just spray some of this on there and wipe it right off. You don't have to have a full water wash and everything like that. It definitely speeds up the process and keeps the water beating up really well on your paint job. Now, if you're going to go for a tire shine, I'm personally not a fan of tire shine, but get water-based. If you get an oil-based, it's really hard to keep it from slinging all over the rest of your vehicle, especially if you have a more aggressive tire design. It seems like the wider you get and the more aggressive you get, the more you get on the rest of your vehicle. But if you do decide to use tire shine, go ahead and apply that pretty heavily, and then if you do get it pretty heavy, go ahead and wipe that off again with a microfiber cloth or something similar like that, so it's not just extra wet and going to sling off your vehicle. Again, I do use a brush. This is all just for the tires. I don't really run a whole lot of other stuff with this brush. I again do use a lot of microfiber cloths, but again, you can use that quick detailer on your wheels. I use it on my sliders, and everything worked out really great, but there are a couple problem spots that make washing your Tacoma a little bit more difficult. So go ahead and take a lap around the truck here. I'll show off some of those problem spots that you definitely need to watch out for, and definitely spend some extra time cleaning, because if not, it has a mediocre result. Now, as you can see, I do still have a little bit of dirt around the edge of my tire. If I would have spent a little bit more time scrubbing, this could look a little bit better. But again, if you would decide to use a tire shine, you could probably clean that up a little bit better. Also, as you can see here in my American Racing wheels, I am not running the center cap, so a lot of that is still kind of tarnished. Again, I do plan on cleaning this up a little bit later with just some black spray paint. That'll have a good enough look to it for me, but obviously if you do have those hubs exposed, they are prone to rust a little bit quicker, and they definitely don't clean up quite as nicely. The next area here is inside your fender wells, and as you can see, I got the outside pretty clean using that quick detailer and the wash in general, but the inside is not great. I did rinse all this off, but it does take a little bit of extra elbow grease to actually get all of that mud stain off. Now, moving up here to the sliders, obviously not everyone has sliders or steps on their vehicle, but there are a couple kind of hard to reach areas, mainly where they either bolt or weld onto the frame. It's really hard to get all the way up in there and get it all the way clean. I think my leg actually just rubbed against that when I was drying it, so that's why there's a little smear there. But overall, again, these are just a spray paint finish, nothing more than the cheap spray paint from Lowe's, because ultimately, if you do plan on using your sliders, all of that is going to need touched up. But moving here to the front, as you can see, everything worked out pretty great. Some of you have been asking how the badging is holding up. All of this is just Plasti-Dip, and again, it's not perfect, but overall it hasn't changed a whole lot for the past couple of months where I've had it on here. It's probably almost a year now, maybe even a little bit longer. But as you can see, I got a little bit of wax on the side here, so I need to go back and clean that up. But overall, they are holding up great. I have not touched it up at all. This is from the first application of the Plasti-Dip, but overall it's holding up really nicely here. Moving around to the front of the vehicle, again, the same thing. Inside the fender liner here, and then a little bit on the front of the slider that I missed. Moving around here to the front, this is a powder coated grill from Bay Area Metal Fabrications, and I did scrub this the best I could, but there are still a couple bug spots. It's really hard to see all that when it's wet, and again, I'm no professional detailer. I'm sure Frank and a lot of you all can do a lot better, but that's what we left. Since this is kind of a multi-tiered grill with the color bar there behind it, it does get a little bit tricky to wash all of that, so definitely if you have a similar grill, take some extra care with that. The plastic ones that come on here stock do seem to clean up a little bit better, but overall I still really love the look of this grill. So moving back here to the back, again the same type of issues again there in the fender liner, but overall this took less than 2 hours of my time, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. It has a very, very good look to it and everything like that. As you can see here in the sun, the wax did a pretty good job as well. Again, there are probably a couple of little pinstripes in there that you can see from trees and everything from going off-road, but overall that's just part of it. But I am really happy with the way it turned out. Now, I've heard a couple different schools of thought here with factory clear coat. Now, modern paints are not near what our grandparents grew up with, where paints were brittle and you know, you needed wax just to keep the color on the vehicle. New paints aren't like this, and actually, I'm not sure if you've ever noticed it, but there's a different texture of the paint that's down lower on your truck. It has kind of a textured type material, and that is actually a rock guard. It's very rubbery paint down there. Now, I'm not sure if any of you all have actually scuffed this area of your truck. I actually have, especially on the underside, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted rock sliders. But the paint does hold up really, really nicely, and so does the clear coat, but the trick is maintaining the clear coat. If the clear coat starts coming off, ultimately your paint will start coming off, and that's certainly something you want to avoid. Now, a lot of people say you don't need to wax modern vehicles because the clear coat is that good, but in my opinion, why not wax it? I think wax could only help preserve the clear coat and keeping your truck looking as fresh as possible, and keeping it factory clean for the length of owning the truck. So as always, we love hearing what you all think, and we definitely enjoy reading your all's comments, whether here on YouTube or over on our Instagram page. But I'm sure there's some things that we left out of this video. If you can think of something that you do to your own truck that keeps it looking factory fresh and helps to keep it clean, be sure to let us know in the comments section. Also, the builds of both mine and Chad's truck are gradually coming along, but there are still some more things that we would like to change about the truck, and I'm sure there's some things that you would like to change about your own. So if you have any ideas of mods that you would like to see in the future, again, please leave that in the comment section. Now, we will be choosing both a mod and a cleaning tip, and we will share that with you in the next coming weeks. But if we do choose your idea, whether that again is a mod or a cleaning tip that you leave in the comment section, we will also be sending you one of these shirts. We did have some Bandit off-road shirts made up quite a while ago, actually. Very few of you all have actually noticed these. We have been wearing them in several of our videos, but if we do like your idea the best and we do end up doing that to our vehicles, we'll be sure to send you one of these shirts, and hopefully you all enjoy that as much as we have and as much as we've enjoyed the channel. We do really appreciate all of the support and all of the growth that we've been seeing. So huge thanks to Frank for talking me through how he cleans vehicles. Be sure to check him out on Instagram. He is a super nice guy. I was just talking to him the other night. I really did enjoy that. But thank you all very much for watching. Thanks for stopping by for another week's Taco Tuesday. Again, thanks for the continued support. Have a fantastic week, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.